Hi, my name is Mia from the band Pom Pom Squad, and I'm going to be walking you through my debut album, Death of a Cheerleader, track by track. Pom Pom Squad is an indie rock, punk, grunge, pop project. I started it in high school and kind of just started out making demos in my bedroom. I didn't really know anything about recording music at the time, but it was so much fun just getting to write and see what I could do alone with an acoustic guitar and my voice. I sort of fell into playing in a live band and was so in love from the first show I ever did, and so I've been doing it ever since. Until this year, when I had to stop. Our debut album, Death of a Cheerleader, I wrote mostly over the past year during quarantine, but some of the oldest songs I wrote in high school. One of the other songs I wrote when I was a freshman in college, and they stuck around. Death of a Cheerleader is a love story, I think, at its heart, but it's also about chaos and self-discovery and all of the emotions that make up being a young person. I feel like I wanted to explore that in a really fun, whimsical, over-the-top way. So, without further ado, let's get into it. First song on the record is called Soundcheck. I'm a big sucker for bookends, something that repeats at the beginning and the end of the album, or just some kind of running theme. I think Soundcheck for me felt like a nice intro to the rest of the album, kind of like falling down the rabbit hole into this whimsical world. I also sort of think of this song like casting a spell. Everyone who was a key player in the album is represented in some way, particularly all members of my band. Alex Mercuri, who plays lead guitar, Shelby Keller, who plays drums, and Mariale Fiedemann, who plays bass. Some of the sound bites on this recording actually came from me playing around on a Fisher-Price children's toy radio when I was recovering from surgery. I had to get this really gnarly surgery to fix my septum because I couldn't breathe for 2 years. When I was just really out of it, Shelby and Maria took care of me and fed me banana pudding. You can kind of hear me on the toy radio sound checking and calling out their names and checking in. There are sound bites of Alex during band practice, the guitar feeding back, and Sarah Tudzin of the band Illuminati Hotties produced the record. I was lucky enough to co-produce with her, which meant a lot to me. She's doing the whistling. It just kind of felt like this full circle seance moment, like we were harnessing all of our energy to create the world that follows on the rest of the record. Track 2 is a song called Head Cheerleader. It was the lead intro single when we announced the album. And this song, I actually wrote it for a college class. I was learning about songwriting, and I think our first assignment was to write a song that felt like a mission statement. So I was kind of pulling from all of these images that have made up Pom Pom Squad over the years. And at the time I was really grappling with my identity, particularly my queer identity, and I really wanted to write, a coming out song, a song that described the fun and the fear that come with discovering yourself, because that's what I was feeling at the time, and it was a really new and exciting feeling. The music video was inspired by the album art, and the album art was inspired by still what I was going through with my identity, but feeling like I was living a life that wasn't my own. I'm also really interested in artifice and this idea of plastic to perfect, almost uncanny looking things. I imagine myself buried under this plastic world with all these crazy, twisted floral textures. And it came out so beautifully and just represented what I wanted it to mean so well. So I wanted to create a music video around it that felt just as whimsical, just as interesting, just as campy and glamorous and weird I also love the idea of kind of queering the cheerleader archetype. I think especially in American culture, it means so much and represents so much about femininity that it was a cool opportunity to reinvent that archetype with myself in mind. Growing up, I didn't really understand what it meant to be feminine, and I thought that I had to fit into a sort of standard, you know, kind of typical cheerleader standard of being like white, blonde, thin, the all-American girl. Sort of just asserting myself in that position was really empowering, and also to kill off that idea of femininity and replace it with my own version was equally as empowering. Head Cheerleader all around was just super fun, so exciting, and I think one of the lighter songs I've ever written, maybe one of the most entertaining. It was just a great time. Love Head Cheerleader. The next song on the record is the song Crying, which was also a single. We really went just like singles, like 2 singles in a row. I knew when I was working on the record that I wanted to mix a grunge sound with this big orchestral sound. At the time I was listening to a lot of Motown. I just came to love the orchestral arrangements, the Phil Spector wall of sound production style. Typically where I come from when I write is from more of a punk / grunge place. And I knew I wanted to create a song that felt like a big mashup of the two. I was trying to make them come together in a way that felt seamless but also really clumsy. The song starts with that big string section and just kind of falls down into the grunge section, and then eventually they sort of work with each other. It was really, really fun to record. I think my favorite thing about that track are the falling string sounds that come in the second chorus. The video for Crying was inspired by film noir and horror movies and David Lynch, who I am always referencing in some way in my videos, and especially on this album. What I loved about music from the 50s specifically is it's so sort of sweet and saccharine that it becomes creepy. It's very cinematic, and when I was writing the record I was thinking a lot about it as a narrative arc, almost like a movie. Crying in the narrative arc in the story, it was kind of introducing these two worlds. These are actually the gloves that make a prominent appearance in the video. The video starts out sort of calm, and as it continues it just gets more chaotic and creepy, and these gloves start crawling all over my body. It felt like a physical manifestation of the way that I feel when I'm anxious or trapped in a depressive episode. These look so cool with my outfit. I also like the sound that they make. There was a lot of glove sound when we were on set. The song was fun to write because it's basically me just reading myself to Phil. It's basically just me calling myself whiny, which is very fun. I feel like I should just leave these on. They look so cool.
You could do one.
Should I just do one? Is that edgy? How do we feel about one glove? I feel like this is just what we're gonna have to work with. Track number 4 is called Second That. This is a song that's really personal to me, actually. It's about a very specific night where I had to watch someone who I really loved walk away, and I was devastated and upset. And when I went up to my apartment, I turned on a playlist that we had made together, and the song Second That Emotion by Smokey Robinson and the Miracles came on. And then I read my tarot cards, which I only do when I'm at a crossroads and I feel like something really important is about to happen. And the first card I drew was the Lovers. So Second That is about that night. It also reminds me of this poem by a poet named Saeed Jones called Blue Prelude. The quote specifically that I was thinking about was, "In my empty bed, I dreamed the record's needle pointed into my back, spinning me into no one's song." The next song on the record is Cake, and the song is so fun. It's this crazy post-punk really just frenetic and entertaining song. I co-wrote it with an artist named Henson Papa. I met kind of by chance in a songwriting circle, and the second they played the song, I just lost my mind. It was so raw and so cool. They wrote the music, and I asked if I could rewrite the lyrics and do my own version, and they very graciously let me write over it. It's about some experiences that I've had in the music industry. The music industry is a complicated place. God, how do I say this without getting myself in trouble? There was a time when I felt really overlooked by people in that world because they didn't really know what to do with me. I think being a mixed race, Black, Puerto Rican artist making indie rock, people just sort of assumed that my music was going to sound differently than it did. I think especially with this record, describing to somebody that I wanted to make a Motown grunge album definitely was lost on some people. I also just felt at the time really tokenized. It's just a really fun way to explore a really dark and frustrating thing. Track 6 on the record is Lux. This song holds a very special place in my heart. I wrote this when I was a teenager about my favorite movie, The Virgin Suicides. I knew ever since I wrote the song that I wanted to make a video that felt like I was honoring the original movie. I think putting myself in that context felt emotional and surreal, extremely intimidating, but also really exciting, especially to be making something that had been in my mind for so long. Next up is Crimson and Clover. It's a cover. It was originally done by Tommy James and the Shondells. Over quarantine, it became one of my favorite songs. The thing about that song is it feels so ungrounded in any physical space. It's also really unintentionally creepy. I really wanted to bring out the creepiness. I heard it in my style, and I heard the chaos that it could possess, and I wanted to recreate that via those big string sections, these really chaotic sort of outbursts in the song where it feels like it's close to bubbling over and then it stops. I think also in the context of covers, I was pretty late to Joan Jett's version. Shelby, I think, was the first person to show it to me. I think the way that Joan Jett queers the song by not changing the pronouns, it felt appropriate for this album. It's the first time I've used she, her pronouns for an assumable interest. It felt really cool to honor both versions and create my own version of the song. You can probably hear my cat Zelda purring in the background, but she's not gonna come sit on my lap because she's a jerk. Just kidding, I love her. Track 8 is Red with Love. Red with Love is actually the first love song that I ever wrote. I was inspired by the Motown Jubilee drum sound, and Shelby brought out this cool pop punk side. We had actually done it as a non-album sort of random single on Valentine's Day. When we were in the studio, I knew that I wanted to re-record it, and the reason that I wanted to re-record it is because it was before my surgery, and whenever I listen to it, I just hear myself like just skrelting, just like screaming for my life. Actually, I really don't like the vocals on the original. I used to hate when artists would say they don't like something about a song, but the way that I mean it is just, it's a personal insecurity. I still love the song, and anyone who likes it, please don't be deterred by my dislike for my vocals. But that's one of the reasons we re-recorded it. I just wanted to give it another try. My label that I recently signed to City Slang, as the story goes, actually signed me because of that song. In the studio on the day that we were working on Red with Love, I called Christoph, who's the head of City Slang, and I just begged him not to make me put it on the album. I couldn't hack the vocal. I was so nervous in front of the mic, and I was just like, please, I don't want to do it. I'm done. And he was like, just do it. If you don't want to put it on the album when it's done, we won't put it on the album, but just try. And I'm actually so proud of how this version turned out. I think we added this kind of shoegazy, big, wide feel to the song. Feels like floating through the clouds on the wings of an angel. I'm proud of the vocal now as well. I had a really good pep talk with Sarah on that day. I was just getting so discouraged and down on myself. And she basically said to me, if you don't think you're gonna do it, you're never gonna do it. She told me to pretend I was having fun, and I pretended I was having fun until I started to have fun. Difficult, but ultimately so rewarding. Track 9 is Forever. I wrote in school with a friend of mine, Garrett, who I will put a little Instagram handle over here. But Garrett and I sat down to write a song for a class. I don't remember what the prompt was exactly. I think it was just to do something collaborative, and we work in very, very different styles. Originally, this song was a straight ahead pop song. I didn't think that I was gonna end up using it for anything, let alone for Pom Pom Squad. It just felt like this crazy fun thing that I did. Shelby and Maria particularly fell in love with this song and just were bugging me to put it on the record. For a while, during quarantine, when I was dealing with the limitations of not having my bandmates available, I was playing around a lot on Logic and figuring out what I could do with the computer. And I came back to that song, and it became this really beautiful, spacey, romantic song. It opens with the voice of my best friend Spencer, puppet of Band the Ophelias, and I just think she sounds like an angel. Track 10 is Shame Reactions. This song is Shelby's Pom Pom Squad writing debut. Shelby initially wrote this song for a project called Tonsil Hockey that was a band that never came to be. One day when I was bored, I found the track that Shelby sent me. I wanted to surprise them by recording the vocal because I know how much the project meant to them and, you know, how disappointed they were about the fact that it didn't pan out. So I recorded it, I think in the middle of the day. I was in my college dorm. I think somebody knocked on my door eventually and told me to shut up because I was being really loud. The lyrics to that song are about a very drunk night of doing karaoke, and I thought that I was writing it about this crazy scene that happened, this sort of knockdown, drag out, drunken chaos. When I was in college, I used to joke that my position on the 9 alignment charts would be chaotic stupid, because there was a period of time where I behaved very badly and I was not good to myself, and I was just messy, so that was my sort of messy character. It was fun to shout out my good buddy, chaotic stupid. The lyrics in the chorus of the song, is there a way for me to kill the girl I wish I were, won't let me be you because I'll never be enough for her, really crystallized this kind of battle I was having with my idea of femininity and the expectations that I had of myself. So it ended up playing into this larger theme of the album, even though initially I thought it was just a really fun song about drunk karaoke. Drunk Voicemail is the second oldest song on the record, behind Lux. This song I wrote right after my very first EP, Hate It Here, and held on to for a while, clearly. The outer layer of the song is about being mad at someone you love, and at the time I wrote it, I was really mad at someone that I love. That feeling that you don't know if you'll ever be over it, the feeling of missing somebody, the feeling of expecting more from somebody, the pain that accompanies wanting and longing. It really reminds me of the stuff on my last EP, Out, and it feels like a predecessor to all of those songs. Let's see. I don't know why I have so little to say about this song. I think maybe it speaks for itself a little bit. I mean, I think we've all left a crazy voicemail when we're drunk. Unless you don't do that. I've definitely had my fair share of drunken idiocy, and I think also when I imagine this song, I imagine a night where you're walking out of a party, you know, I'm holding my heels in my hand, just crying makeup all down my face. And the angry walk home from a party where you don't get what you want. think that's the heart of drum placement. Messiness. We are getting down to the end of the record now. Track 12 is a song called This Couldn't Happen. It is the second cover on the record. I'm interpreting Doris Day's version of Again, which is probably one of my favorite songs of all time. It's this idea of if I don't go for it, this won't happen again. This is a once in a lifetime occurrence, and in a way it's this like gentle defiance. I don't know, I think those are fireworks, jeez. I wanted to create that overwhelming feeling of, you know, your heart stretching and growing inside of you. It felt like this really beautiful interlude, I guess outerlude, this sort of resolution to the album. We are on to the very last song on the record, and probably my favorite song on the record, Be Good. When I started working off of that riff, I loved the longing it evoked. This song was actually inspired by a letter that someone really special wrote to me, and the final line of the letter was, "Till then, be good and wait for me." This song to me feels like when the plane is taking off in Casablanca, this unresolved, beautiful, heartbreaking ending that also feels so complete and committed. There are a lot of layers to this song just on a sonic level. There were strings, there was vibraphone, there's a horn in there, there's guitars in there, there's a lot of vocals stacked on top of each other. I'm a person that feels things really strongly. I'm very emotional, and this song feels big, you know, the way that my emotions do, the intensity that you feel, you know, when you're really in it. This song is about trusting your intuition and following what you know is right for you, despite how anyone else might feel. Be Good also leads into a secret track that I guess you'll just have to listen to on the album, but it's really pretty. One of the goals for the record was to feel like once you finish it, it could start right over again, and you're back in the loop of this world. That was Death of a Cheerleader, track by track. Thank you so much for watching. I'm really excited to get the record into people's hands, and I hope that you love it as much as I do. Shall we do the grand unveiling? Not me trying to peel off the plastic in these gloves. You know? Alright, I'm gonna take it off. That was really ugly, but we're gonna keep it. Woo. This is my record. If you got the pre-order, or if you get the pre-order, it's this lovely red vinyl. Well, I hope this encourages you to get the record. You can see my little light. I'm so proud of her. Thank you again for watching.